Time to start building the market model. We start by creating a simple model depicting how advertising leads consumers to purchase a product. Initially, our customers will not be using our product, but they're all potentially interested in using it. We also want to represent the impact of advertising on consumer demand by allowing a set percentage of customers to become interested in purchasing the product during a given day. For the purposes of this model, advertising effectiveness is going to determine the percentage of potential users that become ready to buy our product during a given day. The first step to building any model in any logic is to open the program. Once you do that, you should see the welcome screen. And to create a new model, you can either go to File, New, then Model, or just click Create a Model. And this will open the New Model wizard, where we can set some basic parameters for our model. In the model name field, name this model Market. In the location field, you can decide where to store the model and its associated fields on your computer, either by typing a file path or navigating to the desired file location by using the Browse button. We also want to change our model time units from seconds to days by using the drop-down menu. There are many different options, but in this case, days is the time unit that we think might work best to evaluate this situation. At this point, click the Finish button, and this will take you to the AnyLogic workspace, where you can begin in earnest with developing the model. There may be a notice that says if you continue to create the model, you may not be able to work with it in a previous version of AnyLogic. And if that's the case, just click right on through it. If we open the projects view, we can examine the model structure. By default, each model has one agent type, main, one experiment, simulation, and a built-in database to read input data and write simulation output. The run configuration element allows analysts to tune the model input and output before uploading it to AnyLogic Cloud, which could be helpful for some group assignments, but is not a requirement in this course. Agents are the building blocks of a model and can model all kinds of real-world objects like organizations, resources, stores, and so on. Main automatically opened in the graphical editor in the center of the screen. To add consumers to the model, we need to create an agent type to represent consumers, and then create an agent population made up of instances of this consumer agent type. To do this, we want to navigate to the palette view. So where we see projects, the tab next to it is palette, and then we want to open the agent palette. So if we scroll over to the different icons, it will open up the names of the different palettes. Agent is the one with a red circle with a stick figure like entity in it. And if we click that, it opens up the agent palette. And to create our agents, we just want to click on agent at the very top of the agent palette. We just want to click and drag it onto main. And this opens the new agent wizard. The first step is to choose what you want to create. And here, when developing new agents, you select the option that best meets the needs of the model at hand. In this scenario, we want to create multiple agents of the same type. So we'll select population of agents. On the step 2, creating a new agent type page, in the agent type name field, type consumer. So it says my agent now, and we'll change that and replace it with consumer. The information in the agent population name field will automatically change to consumers as you do this. And we will create this agent type from scratch, so we can click next to move on to the next screen in the wizard. Here we can choose the agent's animation shape. In this case, we're building a simple model with basic animation. So we'll select the 2D option. After doing that, we see that the menu of options to illustrate the agent's changes, and we want to choose person, which is the very first option in the list. After doing this, click next to move on to step 4, agent parameters. Here we can define the agent's parameters or characteristics. Our model only considers advertising-related product purchases, so we want to add a parameter to represent the effectiveness of advertising, and we'll call it ad effectiveness. And it will define the percentage of potential users who become ready to buy our product during a given day. In the parameters table, click Add New to create a parameter. In the parameter box, we will change the default parameter's name to Ad Effectiveness. And we're going to set the type to double from the drop-down list. So you can see from the drop-down list, there are many different types of parameters we can add, and double is the type we want in this specific scenario. Since we assume an average of 1% of our model's potential users will want to buy the product during a given day, where we can specify the value or stochastic expression, we want to specify 0.01 as the parameter's value. And this represents that average of 1% of our model's potential users wanting to buy the product during a given day. And after you specify this value, click next to move on to the next step. On the step 5 population size page, we want to type in 5,000 where it says create population with agents. The default is 100, but we want 5,000. What this does is create 5,000 instances of the consumer type agent. Each instance in the population models a specific agent consumer. We'll click next to move on to the next step. On the step 6, configure new environment page, we want to accept the default values for the environment space type, which is continuous, and both its width and height values of 500. This represents the number of pixels. So it's 500 pixels by 500 pixels. We select the Apply Random Layout box so that the agents are distributed randomly across our 500 by 500 pixel space. And for network type, we want to select no network /user defined since we're not creating an agent network. At this point, we've worked our way through the new agent wizard and can now click Finish. And now we can see the consumer's agent has also appeared in the graphical editor for Main. Navigating over to the projects view, the consumer agent now appears. At this point, the model now has two agent types, Main and Consumer. The consumer agent type has the agent's animation shape. If I open up the consumer branch here, we can see there are a few different branches, presentation, parameters, and links to agents. The animation shape is within the presentation branch, level, person. So to modify what that animation looks like or that visual representation looks like, we can go to the person element and make any changes that we might want to make at some point. Under parameters, we also find our add effectiveness parameter. And if we click it, the properties show up on the right side of the screen. Meanwhile, the main agent type contains the agent population of consumers, which is a set of 5,000 agents of type consumer. The main agent is the environment for the consumer's population. The environment defines the space, layout, network, and communication the agents use. And we need an environment in which to arrange the agent presentation, as well as to eventually model the word-of-mouth advertising that occurs when agents interact with each other. In the projects view, we can click on Main to open its properties in the properties view. It shows up on the right side of the window. In the space and network section of the properties for Main, you can adjust the environment settings for the consumer's agent population. These values were set while creating the consumer's agent, but can be modified in this area to suit our needs. In the graphical editor, the center panel of our workspace, click on the animation shape to open its properties. So that's our little figure of a person. We'll click that to open its properties. If we open the advanced section, if it's not already open, and select the draw agent with offset to this position option, what this does is define the upper left corner of the 500 by 500 pixel space where the individual agents reside when the model runs. So at this point, a basic model has been built. And if we click the build button in the ribbon at the top of the screen, it will check for errors before we run the experiment. That build button, you can either press F7 on a Windows machine or just press the build button. Down in the lower left corner, you may see a little note that says build completed successfully. This means that any logic has not found any errors that would interfere with the ability to run the experiment. Since we have the go-ahead from running the build button, we can go about actually running the experiment by clicking the green run button and selecting the experiment we want to run. In this case, it's market/simulation. And this opens a new window where the model's presentation is visible, showing 5,000 animations for the agents comprising the consumer's population. However, we did not create any behavior for the agents, So at this point, the view is static. The next step is to define the consumer's logic. To continue developing the market model, close the model window that appeared just by clicking the close button in the corner, and you can progress to phase 2, defining a consumer behavior.